Assembly Member Gavron on affordable housing targets.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your question. Yes, social rented and other genuinely affordable housing is central to mixed communities. Having grown up in a council home, I understand the vital role that social housing plays for Londoners. It forms the foundations of our mixed city and it's now more important than ever. Creating mixed and inclusive communities is central to our vision to create a city for all Londoners. It is embedded in our affordable homes programme and in our planning policies, both of which are already delivering thousands of more social rented and other genuinely affordable homes for Londoners. Other policies in my draft plan will ensure that more of these affordable homes are delivered on-site and are better integrated into the community through 10-year blind developments. Creating mixed communities in the midst of our housing crisis with market prices that have soared is not easy, but it can be done. My Deputy Mayor for Housing, James Murray, and I both recently visited Marklake Court in Southwark, where new council homes have been developed hand in hand with the local community in one of London's most expensive postcodes. These council homes will help ensure Londoners are not driven out of the city, but can stay in communities in which they grew up. I want to help councils like Southwark do even more, which is why we've launched City Hall's first ever programme dedicated to building new council housing.
Thank you. Thank you for that response. You've already alluded to the column that Boris Johnson wrote in the Telegraph recently, where he trashed affordable housing quotas or targets. This question, though, is focusing on mixed and balanced communities. But in that context, your predecessor decided that there should be, in his 2011 Replacement London Plan, that there should be no policy, I mean he just dropped it, no policy to introduce social rented homes in areas where there were dense concentrations of market housing. He also decided to introduce a new policy that there should be no social housing in areas where there already existed social housing. And that was despite the government inspector actually ruling that he should delete that policy. Now my question, coming to that, is what's been the legacy of that 2011 policy for London, and what did it mean for you on assuming office?
Well, there's the policies that you refer to, but also the government's welfare benefit policies taken together have started to see some communities changing rapidly. What we haven't got to, thankfully, yet is a hollowing out of London. And thankfully, I think it's possible to have a situation where there's still mixed communities in London. I love Paris, but one of the things that concerns us, many of us who know Paris well, is how in Paris you've got those who are relatively well off live in the centre of Paris, those who are less well off live in the donuts in outer Paris. I would never want to reach a situation in London, which would happen if there were a continued period of Boris Johnson's policies and the policies of his government over a number of years. Because the consequence of the bedroom tax, the consequence of universal credit, the consequence of the planning policies you referred to is in certain parts of our community having one type of housing, whether it's social housing or whether it's market value housing. And one of the joys of London, I knew growing up in London, is the social mix we have. Living cheek by jowl, somebody who's the son of a bus driver, somebody who's a son of or daughter of a doctor or a lecturer or a doctor. That's one of the joys of London, and I never want to lose that.
That's good. Okay, it's not generally known that Ken Livingstone's 50% target for affordable housing in all new developments was aspirational until 2008, when it was introduced as a firm target in the 2008 London Plan. Now, in 2011, Boris Johnson dropped that target and abolished that, and the developers sitting at the EIP all argued, they opposed the dropping of it, and they argued that it would actually hamper them and give them less clarity in negotiating land values. So they saw the value of that target. Now, you've introduced a longer-term 50% target, which is very welcome, and a 35% threshold for developers. Can you tell us how developers are finding that 35%
Really, very important
target?
question. Really, so firstly, developers love the clarity. Secondly, it's telegraphing to landowners the expectations there'll be in relation to land they're trying to sell in relation to affordable housing, which means they've got to be sensible when it comes to how much they're selling land for. Obviously, the policy at the moment is just an SBG, it's just a draft on the plan, hopefully be adopted next year. But particularly in the context of the uncertainty around Brexit and concerns of people having in relation to market value and luxury properties, it's an opportunity for us to get more genuinely affordable homes in London. And so I'm optimistic that a combination of our policies in planning terms, but also hopefully the government seeing sense and realising the need to invest in London affordable housing will lead to a change. We need to reduce the value of land in London. And I think having a London plan that supports genuinely affordable homes will lead to land value coming down and developers actually saying, you know what, it is viable to build more genuinely affordable homes. And that's another reason why we're having viability experts to assist councils when it comes to viability assessments.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.